Welcome to Clause 8. You're watching a short clip from one of our full episodes, featuring real conversations with the leaders shaping IP.
You know, I guess you mentioned a lot of you're saying Tillis and Coons, and that's Tillis and Schiff. You know, I actually watched that first hearing I think they had, and it didn't seem like Schiff was that excited about the role he was handed. But I want to get your, I guess, sense, and I was surprised, I guess, Coons, I guess he probably got a more prestigious thing, but I'm still surprised so maybe you could explain the dynamics there.
No, I mean, what I'll say is, no one really gets stuck being the chair or the ranking member of subcommittee. You have to request it.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the
I thought because he's a freshman, they kind of said that.
No, he gets his choice a little later than some others, and you're looking at things across, but nobody gets to be the ranking member of a committee unless they want it.
Yeah.
I got to work with his staff, some, and start to understand a little bit about what their interest is. They are engaged on patents. My guess is he's a little more interested in kind of the copyright side of things. He used to represent kind of LA area when he was in the House, has relationships with a lot of the studios. So I suspect his kind of driving interest in IP is more in the copyright space. I don't want to suggest he's not interested in patents. He has staff who knows it well. I've worked with them. I've spoken to them a number of times. But that's my guess, is that he's more interested in the copyright space.
And I guess what kind of impact do you think that has, or does it, or is going to go to the full committee then?
Look, Senator Tillis, he's going to continue driving this subcommittee, as he did when he was the chair and 2 Congresses ago, I guess, or 3 Congresses, I forgot exactly. But, they were the most active subcommittee we had when he was the chair. They're still one of the more active subcommittees. So he's going to keep pushing this thing. He did kind of the foreign threats hearing. He did the PERA hearing. There will undoubtedly be more patent-related hearings, but I'm sure he's going to dip into the copyright and trademark space. He's done a lot of work there around the DMCA, piracy, other things. And there are other members, while they're not chair ranking member, are interested here. Senator Blackburn on the Republican side, Senator Serrano, Coons on the Democratic side. And they'll, put in their 2 cents of where they think the subcommittee should focus, and Senator Tillis tries to build a consensus. I can see him taking their views, but I expect them to be very active right to the end.
Yeah, that's interesting because we have other former staffers who, on the Clause 8, and they explained the 4 principles of the 2 subcommittees have to agree, and then that's the only way things could get done. But it seems from your perspective, it's really a full team effort on whoever's the...
Yeah, the chair drives the subcommittee agenda. They decide what hearings they're going to have. You could decide with the ranking member if you're going to have a consensus panel or if you're going to have a partisan panel. But I do, sense that Senator Tillis, seeks the feedback of other members who are active there. Yeah. As Dave said, he's really a well-liked member. He's just a good guy. Mm. And with that, he likes to talk with his members and find out where their interests lie and see if there's something he can do for them.
And on the Senator Schiff point, he must, with the lack of seniority, I'm assuming he ranked IP subcommittee
pretty
high if he got it. So
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't just choose it. He really chose it, I think.
Yeah. And I was thinking, obviously, he has very strong divergent interests in that state.
He does. It's in California. Same thing with Dianne Feinstein. All senators from California face this on the patent stuff because they've got Qualcomm and a bunch of biotech on one side. They've got all the big tech up in San Francisco, and they just have a split state. It's impossible to navigate a lot of times. Yeah.
And somebody else from, I guess, California, Darrell Issa, who led a lot of the patent reform efforts. Even after AIA, he didn't think AIA went far enough, and he thought
Go Innovation Act. Yeah,
there's a bunch. Anyways, I was gonna say with Senator Lee from Utah. Anyways, but I guess from my understanding, he's term limited. And is my understanding correct? Or
who's term limited?
Darrell Issa, or no?
I won't pretend to know how the term limits work for chair and ranking member. I think the more pressing thing is the redistricting that happened in California.
Okay, so he's...
I'm not going to pretend to know California politics and how red versus blue his district now is, but everything I've read suggests he's going to have a much tougher district than he used to.
Maybe, although he could still win. He's already been redistricted out once, right? Well, and then it came back to Congress.
That actually reminds me of the other congressman who's became interested in Kevin Kiley. I think he lost his district.
I think it was broken into like 5 or 6 pieces or something like that. So he has to decide where he wants to run.
Yeah, and he's a big pro-pan guy. I think he's a former litigator.
I think a former REL litigator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he learned from the best. Yes. So, but anyways, I guess it seems like the House has been taking pretty much of a backseat for a while now on patent issues. At least that's been my perspective. But I guess where do you think is going to go this Congress, or I guess let's start with this Congress, and then maybe next Congress.
It's really, that's a hard one. Whenever we would look at these bills like PREVAIL, we're so focused on, can we get it, through the Judiciary Committee? Can we get it through the Senate? As you said, Chairman Issa on the other side has a very different view of something like PREVAIL. And we would be doing all this work for something that, even if we got it through the Senate, was just going to die over in the House anyway. I find it hard to believe. I hate to always be the pessimist, but I find it hard to believe there's a lot of common ground, between the folks who really care about patents in the Senate and, the Darrell Issas of the world in the House. They might be able to find some things around the edges, or maybe they can find things in other spaces like, I mentioned copyright piracy earlier. But just, the Senator Tillis, Senator Coons, what they've been working on in the Senate is just very different than what Representative Issa's been working on in the House. And there's not a whole lot of overlap, but curious what Dave thinks.
I think there's not a whole lot of overlap. I mean, the one scenario where you could see something potentially happening, although it seems like a very, very long shot and probably almost impossible, is, if the PTAB really has been dismantled, maybe one side's desperate and the other side's willing to talk. I don't see it, but I don't know. My understanding is that Chairman Issa is a little aggravated by the current situation, and he has historically been energetic on these issues. So
yeah, and to that end, I think it'll be really interesting, not just with Chairman Issa, but there are members of the Senate who were here and voted for the AIA, right? And eventually, Director Squires is going to come over and have a PTO oversight hearing. He'll have one in the House. He'll have one in the Senate. And it'll be interesting to see what questions come, even from people who might have been supportive of something like PREVAIL. They might not be happy that the PTO is just doing this on their own. So the questioning there, I think, is going to be really interesting. And that's going to come before too long, is my guess. I mean, doubtful this year. We have so little time.
Not happening this year.
But next year, wouldn't surprise me if it happens relatively early.